Morning everyone. Once again, the second part of this small essay series that we're conducting here. Now, the basics of the essay paper, what the UPSC is looking for, what a student should do, we discussed in the first video. In the second video, let me also take a look at what are the tools that a student would need, can use to score well, to get a high score in the essay paper. And to be honest with you, nothing great, nothing difficult about it, just three simple tools that a student needs. Number one, you need good content. Number two, you need to write essays, you need to practice writing. And number three, you need evaluation. When you are preparing content, the content needs to be essay specific. It cannot be random information that you read somewhere. Somewhere you read that Lance Armstrong was a very famous cyclist. He was an international sensation, won the Tour de France, if I remember correctly, 7 times, was a great person. But he lost his reputation, lost his credibility, lost all his honors because it was discovered that to win these tournaments, he had regularly taken performance-enhancing drugs. You read this somewhere. It's a very good story. Question is, where do I use it? Question is, how do I use it? So the content that you're making should be structured in such a manner that it is ready to be used, ready to be written in an essay. Second, you will have to write regularly as you can. Now, I don't know your status, whether you are preparing in your first year right now for this exam, whether you are a student who's finished your studies and giving the prelims in June 2024, what your status is. But whoever you are, if you're a serious candidate for this exam, like I said earlier also, at least 1 to 2 essays every single month you will have to write. You must write. There's nothing great. It will take you barely 2 hours of your time. I'm sure once in every 2 weeks, you can afford to spend 2 hours on the side for an essay. Within 3 to 6 months, you'll start seeing a huge difference in your writing ability and in your confidence. Only concern over here is point number 3. After you write something, to identify what you've written, to identify where you might have written something wrong or how you can improve. Number 3, you will need reliable evaluation. Reliable evaluation comes in 2 forms. Number 1, like I said last time also, this could be a teacher. Someone who's teaching the essay paper, someone who knows this paper, someone who can give you the kind of feedback that correctly enables you to understand what you are doing here. Or number 2, it can be a very trusted peer. And let me not write peer, let me write trusted peer. What does this mean? A serious student, a very serious student. This is not a person who's sitting next to you in your GS class, who just reads something and gives you his own opinion, criticizes or praises. It has to be someone who understands the pulse of the paper, is at least a serious candidate, and can help you in identifying that. Now, to understand this in a little more detail, what we mean by content, what is writing practice and how you do it, let me start with the first one. With content, the biggest problem, why do students who study so much, GS, the syllabus is huge, 4 different papers, then you have 2 optional papers, you read the newspaper every day, you read magazines, you come across various discussions. Some of you are already very well read, you've read some very good books. Why is it then that in the essay paper, after 2-3 paragraphs, students suddenly don't know what to write? They go completely blank. Problem is that these students believe that whatever they read in the newspapers, in their GS notes, in their optional, any general knowledge that they have, will provide adequate content. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And I'm repeating that is not the case. Reading the newspapers, reading books, reading notes will of course give you a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. It is not modified, it is not tailor-made to be used in an essay. For an essay, you will have to understand the topic and know which information can be correctly fitted into the essay and in what manner. Therefore, what do you need to do? Number 1, collect ready-to-use essay-specific content. And number 2, collect it across different themes that the UPSC uses to frame topics. If you look at the topics for the last, let's say, 10 years or so, since about 2014, when they started asking 2 essays in the essay paper, after that, the broad themes that you'll find are number 1, media, number 2, healthcare, number 3, social justice, number 4, women, number 5, science and tech or the environment, number 6, international relations, number 7, economic issues, and number 8, which has become more common now, philosophical essays, code-based essays. On each of these themes, the different themes, collect ready to use and essay specific content. Many students who are attending classes here will come and ask me that, sir, where do I collect this content from? Can you tell me the name of a book from where I can get all this content? There is no such book. In the market, you will find some books which are a collection of what they call model essays. That, we've taken the topics from the previous years, we've written model essays, you can read them. When you read them, you'll realize two things. Number one, the writing style of the individual is based upon whoever wrote that essay. And number two, most of that content is completely outdated. What was relevant in, let's say, 2018 is absolutely outdated, absolutely redundant in 2024. You will need content that is up to date. Which is why, like I told you last time also, here at Vajiram, I don't believe that students will be able to spare the kind of time. It is not fair to ask them to put in so much effort to collect content, which is why the content for these themes, different themes, we give as part of the classes in the handouts itself. Now, what difference does content make? There will be some people watching this video who will think that, okay, he has to some extent a valid point that you should have a lot of content. But I already have read a lot. I am a very serious student. I read the newspapers every day. I think I have adequate content. I have no doubt about that. This much I assure you, remembering that content when you're writing the essay is another matter altogether. I'll give you a small example. This is an essay topic that was asked a couple of years back, that a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what a ship is for. Now, when I say a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what a ship is for, everyone knows that here we are talking about the fact that whoever you are, you must be willing to take risks. Whoever you are, you must be able to face challenges. Whoever you are, you must be willing to overcome any trouble, any tribulation that is thrown your way. Now, if I say that a ship in harbor is safe, but ships should move out of the harbor, question is, in my 5, 6, 8, 10, however many paragraphs I write in the essay, what will I write in different paragraphs? Now, let's say I have some content. Number one, I can talk about people, individuals, children, parents. And here I can say, wow, these are just thoughts that I'm sharing with you. Prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child. That you are not supposed to create an environment where the child will be happy. You're supposed to prepare the child in such a manner that no matter what happens in life, the child will be able to overcome them and move on successfully. Now that is one paragraph I could write about. Second, stepping out of the harbor, I can talk about one of the most famous examples, Prince Siddharth, living a life of complete luxury. He was born into a royal family, was a prince, had never seen misery. If I go by the fables about him, he had never seen old age, he had never seen illness, he had never seen death. He was absolutely safe in his harbor, but it is only when he steps out that he becomes what he is supposed to become. Siddharth was not born to become a prince, he was born to become Gautam Buddha. But that he can only do when he moves out of the harbor. That's another paragraph. Third, the Indian economy immediately after independence and our policy of import substitution, our policy of protectionism. It protected our domestic industries for a period of almost 4 decades, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, yeah, 4.5 decades. Protected us for about 4.5 decades, but that is not what the Indian economy was for. That is what we in a very disparaging manner, we call the Hindu rate of growth. You have to step out of the harbor, you have to dismantle your artificial trade barriers, only then can your economy become what it is supposed to become. Similarly, the industrial sector, the manufacturing sector, the service sector, and the threat of automation. You cannot stay in your cocoon. Not only automation, along with this, let me also write artificial intelligence. You can, on the one hand, you can completely shy away from technology, stay away from technology and say that we are safe. Or on the other hand, you can understand how to deal with it. And what will this do? This will then take the shape of training, skilling, upskilling, Kaushal Vikas Yojana. All of those will go over here. You can talk about Malala Yousafzai and the education of girls. She is safe as she is. She lives in a very regressive, very patriarchal society. And she can say, I will be safe in my house. First, I will stay in my parents' house, I'll get married, and then I will stay in my marital home. Absolutely safe. But that is not what she's for. You believe Malala Yousafzai would have won the Nobel Prize if she had not shown the kind of passion that she had towards education. You can talk about Julian Assange, now a journalist, and you can talk about WikiLeaks. He's been under arrest now since when? 2019, if I remember correctly, about 5 years. But that is what a journalist is for. You have to expose the wrongdoings of the world. You can talk about India immediately after independence again, during the Cold War, and the choice that we had between three options: siding with the Americans, siding with the Soviets, or NAM. You are a newly independent nation after 190 years of colonial rule, and yet you have the vision, you have the foresight to chart your own course, and that you cannot do if you stay in the harbor. Now, this content is not important, the content is innumerable. At this moment, if you're watching this video seriously, I would ask you to pause this video so this slide is visible to you. There are how many points written here? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 points written here. And just mark for yourself out of these 7 points, how many points are you already familiar with? And based on my experience with students, I can tell you, for a topic like this, if you leave a student to think, this point they will be able to think of, this one they'll be able to think of, this one they'll be able to think of, this one they'll be able to think of, maybe the last one also. 2 that students might not be able to think of on their own are the first and the last one. Maybe they won't be able to do it. At least these they can. But even these 4 or 5 points that you can think of, you will be able to think of right now when I am talking about the essay, when I am talking about a topic, when these points are written in front of you. Sitting in a class or sitting in the exam hall, when a brand new topic is given to you, whether you will be able to ensure this kind of diversity in your thinking, this kind of difference in your thinking, I'm not really sure. I have seen that students, one word that I use very often in the essay paper is don't repeat. Don't repeat. If I say Julian Assange over here, many students, and many means 6 out of 10, they will write one paragraph on Julian Assange. Almost immediately after that, they will write another paragraph, different paragraph, but they will write about a person called Edward Snowden. That's also a very good example, absolutely valid, fits in with the topic. Problem is, you're repeating your thought. Whatever you said over here, the same thing you're saying with Edward Snowden's example also. Now, a student can argue that, sir, it is a different example. It's a completely different content. The basic thought is the same. Which is why we say that when you're preparing for this paper, please collect content carefully. Your GS notes, your newspaper reading optional content usually will not be adequate, will not be sufficient. You need content that is easy to use, that is ready to use, and that is tailor-made for the essay. Second task to score well in the essay paper is writing practice. And with writing, the problem that I told students, that I told you in the first video also, number 1, many people start too late. And here let me emphasize this word, too late. Students sit in the class, they say that, sir, I'm not very good at speaking. I'm not very good at writing. My command over the language is not very good. That's fine. But please understand that if there's a gap between you and the other candidates, the other competitors, you will have to bridge the gap. And to bridge the gap, the more time you have, the easier it will be for you. That's one problem. And second, of course, the fear of writing. That if I write, my grammar might not be good, my handwriting might not be good, my sentence construction might not be good. The thoughts that I'm giving might be very weak or completely off track. Don't worry. Let it be a bad essay. Let it be a bad piece of writing. The only way you will improve is if you write. Therefore, start early, and like I said, 1 or 2, 3 essays every single month. And within 3 to 4 months, you'll start realizing there's a huge difference in your writing ability as well as your confidence. Third is the evaluation. After you write something, the first time a student writes an essay, I would expect it will take them 3 to 4 hours. They will sit, they will think about the topic, they will, gather their thoughts, they will collect some on their rough sheets, and then they will sit down to write. After putting in 3 to 4 hours of effort, after writing 1,000-1,200 words of an essay, I deserve to know, and I really want to know, how have I written, what have I done wrong, and how can I further improve? For which this evaluation is very important. And for the evaluation, what can you do? Seek reliable evaluation across various themes. Write an essay. There could be a classmate of yours who's very comfortable with environment. So he might be able to assess an essay that is based on climate change. But if you write another essay which is based on, let's say media, or that is based on social justice, on the relationship between poverty and economic policies, he might not be equally proficient in assessing that essay. So find a reliable evaluator, a teacher, someone who's given the exam a couple of times, join a test series, join an essay course, but get that evaluation to understand where exactly you need to improve and how to improve. All right? And again, for those who might need a reminder, 23rd June again, we are starting the essay course. These features you're already familiar with. You'll find them on the Vajiram website. And like I said in the previous video also, if you visit the Vajiram website, where they have given details about the essay course, there is a script. There's an evaluated script that has been uploaded there. Please go through that script to understand how students write and how they can further improve by bringing about minor changes. All right, we'll continue the series with another video in a couple of days. Thank you.